Hi and welcome to John Rayner T.V. In this episode, I'd like to talk to you about the stages of learning. The stages of learning. And obviously when we're entrepreneurs or when we're leading business and growing teams and expanding, etc., there are stages that we go through, but we need to recognize exactly what stage we're in as part of the process of growing business. And I'll quickly run through the 4 stages of learning today, and then you can assess in whatever area of your business, maybe we need to learn or relearn or grow and expand and change our way of thinking. The first, the bottom run of the ladder, is where I'm going to abbreviate, is where we are unconsciously incompetent. Unconsciously incompetent. Probably a simple or vanilla or plain example is the 2 or 3 year old who's taxied around by dad or mum in the car, and they are completely unaware, they're unconscious, they're unaware that they're incompetent in the skill or the art of actual driving. Before we move to the next stage of being consciously incompetent. We've moved from being unaware that we're incompetent, maybe at 2 or 3 years of age, sitting in the back seat of dad and mum's car, maybe a little later at 5, 6, 7, I'm making up the ages, but a little later in life, we become very aware, sitting at the back of the car, looking at dad or mum driving. We become consciously incompetent. We become aware that we're incompetent. We don't know what to do in order to drive a vehicle and transport others around. Then that leads to the third stage, which is consciously competent. We're aware of what we know. Good definition is when someone starts to learn how to drive, maybe with their parent, maybe a friend, maybe a loved one, or a qualified driving instructor, but suddenly we become consciously competent. We're absolutely aware of what we know, and then of course we start to put into practice. And over time, having put the right skills into practice, we become unconsciously competent. This is where something is so ingrained in the cerebral, in the brain, that some would call it second nature. I like to say that we should get to a place where something becomes first nature. It's like talking, breathing, walking. We've practiced something so much we don't even think about it. And then of course this is where, and it's the old example or the old analogy, we've gone from a 2 or 3 year old who's completely unaware of what they don't know what they don't know. Then maybe 5 or 6 years of age, they become aware or conscious, consciously incompetent. Then at maybe 16, 17, depending on where you live, with a driving instructor, we become consciously competent. And then after maybe years or decades of driving, then people become completely unconsciously competent, or this is where that particular skill or that particular nurtured craft is now first nature. Why is this important? Because when you're looking to grow your business, any glass ceiling will be based on where you're at on these steps of learning. There's one great saying that one man's ceiling is another man's floor. One man's ceiling is another man's floor. You could say this man's ceiling is this man's floor, or this woman's ceiling is this woman's floor, etc. So look, here's my philosophy to business. I think that sometimes, especially with entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized enterprise, there's so much to do, and then when we start to grow and we start to bring in teams of people and people to lead other people, then so many times as business leaders we can be very, very unconsciously incompetent and or consciously incompetent, but we can put so much trust in others' hands, which we need to put a level of trust in. But I always like to say that we should all be in a place, when you're leading business, we should get to a place where we become at least consciously competent. We don't have to be unconsciously competent. We don't have to be first nature. If you're not good at accounting, don't try and be a first nature brilliant accountant. Bring someone in to do that, or contract someone to do that, but at least have an understanding. Don't be in a place here where you're completely unaware of what you don't know regarding your accounting. Don't be in a place where you don't know, but you haven't done anything about it. At least do some basic research and some basic education so that you become consciously competent, even though you haven't practiced that discipline potentially for years like a qualified accountant. Look, for me personally, I'm an avid student, even though I failed miserably at high school, and even though I studied engineering, which is nothing like what I do now as a conference speaker and advisor to Fortune 500, also medium-sized and small companies the best part of 20 years. However, I'm an avid student, and it's just something personal of mine. I wake up really early. I like to study at least 3 or 4 hours a day, a broad range of topics. I repeat, a broad range of topics, including business and business growth and great leadership and communication and marketing and branding and sales and negotiation and how to expand internationally, franchising, etc. And even though I might not have mastered the majority of what I've studied, I like to be at least consciously competent. I like to be aware of what I know so that when I'm working with contractors or employees or my team, I have a good handle or a good grasp of where they are, what they need to do, how they need to do it, and what the results are that we can expect. So, again, these are the stages of learning, and wherever you are in your business or your leadership of your department and your team, you will always be somewhere on this consistent ladder, or these consistent steps of learning. But make sure we get beyond unconsciously incompetent, we get beyond consciously incompetent, and at least in many areas of your business, be consciously competent, and then in just a few areas, you might become the master as unconsciously competent. I hope this helps, and I hope you think about what are the 1, 2, or 3 areas of your business. Think about 1, 2, or 3 areas of your business where you're not at least here, and then at least start to research, educate yourself, and make sure that you've got a grip of that situation. Okay, see you on the next episode of John Rayner TV. Ciao.